Hello there. Ramadan Kareem, I'm Otto Othman and you're tuned into 7Edition, the headlines. No reshuffle in cabinet, says Prime Minister. 14 foreigners arrested over love scam. And dozens killed after burning plane crashes in Russia. There has been speculation of a pending cabinet reshuffle because of a growing perception that some ministers have not performed to expectation. However, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said today that there is no reason why a cabinet reshuffle is needed. Now, speaking at an interview held in conjunction with the first anniversary of Pakatan Harapan taking over the federal government, he pointed out that his current ministers were new and they needed more time to know how a government functions.
They are performing. I don't see any reason why I should restructure the cabinet. And I believe that eventually they are going to be as good as any experienced members.
The Prime Minister also gave his cabinet a rating of 5 out of 10, saying that his ministers were so afraid of being accused of wrongdoing and all this makes their decision-making more difficult. But he said they were learning very fast and at times they come to him because he has the experience. The Prime Minister added that he has to teach and guide them so that they can perform. Now, on Malaysia Airlines, the Prime Minister said the government has yet to decide on its fate as there is still no feasible solution. Tun Dr. Mahathir described the national carrier's losses and management as very bad and difficult to recover.
Well, everybody tells me that it should be done this way, that or that way, but nobody has come up with a proper solution that can actually succeed.
Tun Dr. Mahathir said the previous government had injected 6 billion ringgit and that the airline terminated 6,000 employees and reduced its routes. He said the aviation industry was now very competitive and many airlines were already sold. Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad has been named one of the world's top 50 greatest leaders. At 93 years young, the Prime Minister was featured by Fortune magazine among leaders who used their power and influence to make the world a better place. Fortune said that during his first 22-year tenure as Prime Minister from 1981 to 2003, he turned Malaysia into one of Southeast Asia's economic tigers. Last year, he returned from seclusion to run for office on an anti-corruption platform, leading a new political party to a shocking victory. It's said that Tun Dr. Mahathir is now tackling the endemic corruption plaguing the country's institution. In the 14th general election last year, Tun Dr. Mahathir pulled off an upset when he led Pakatan Harapan to a win over Barisan Nasional, which had helmed the country for 60 years. In other news, insufficient ventilation in a school laboratory experiment caused 20 students to suffer from breathing difficulties this morning in Penang. Now, according to authorities, the Form 4 students at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Bayan Lepas were heating up iodine during the experiment to test its chemical reaction. But the lack of ventilation had trapped the gas from the chemical inside the lab. Paramedics were dispatched to the scene after a distress call at 9:57 a.m. and said 13 students had to be placed under supervision with oxygen aid, while the rest were given emergency treatment. One student had to be taken to a hospital for further treatment. Authorities are saying the situation is now under control, stressing that there was no chemical leak or any explosion at the school. Shah Alam police busted a love scam syndicate with the arrest of 14 foreigners, including 2 Nigerian women and an Australian woman. With the arrest, police believe they have solved at least 11 of such cases involving a total of 2.2 million ringgit. The suspects were picked up at 11 separate locations in Shah Alam beginning May 1st. Investigations revealed that the love fraudsters made full use of social networks as a medium to deceive unsuspecting victims.
Suspek ataupun sindiket akan membuat mangsa percaya bahawa dia adalah individu sebenar dalam Facebook tersebut. Kemudian apabila sudah mendapat kepercayaan, suspek akan menggunakan aplikasi WhatsApp meminta mangsa mengirimkan wang tanpa mengira sebanyak mana pun bagi tujuan untuk mendapatkan barangan yang dikirim atau untuk membantu suspek sekiranya dalam menyelesaikan masalah yang dihadapi oleh suspek.
Police also seized 16 laptops, 52 mobile phones and 30,000 ringgit in cash from the suspects. All the suspects aged between 33 and 40 have been remanded until Thursday for further investigation, while police are tracing local individuals involved with the syndicate by acting as the mule account holders. Authorities are also investigating whether the syndicate was also involved in a black money scam following the seizure of a bag full of fake notes. At the same press conference, it was revealed that two friends were arrested for possessing fake firearms in Shah Alam after they were found doing firearm training at the compounds of a mosque in Section 19 on Friday. The duo, locals in their 30s, said they obtained the fake weapons due to their hobbies and interest in shooting.
Suspek mengaku telah memiliki senjata tersebut selama lebih kurang 4 tahun lebih sehingga sekarang. Dengan mendapatkannya melalui pembelian secara online menerusi aplikasi Facebook.
Investigations found the two suspects admitted to using the weapons that were seized for the purpose of training conducted in the mosque parking area. Their gun was allegedly bought at about 1,000 ringgit, while the two pistols were worth 850 ringgit. The pair are now in remand for a week to assist investigations under the Firearms Act, where they face a jail term of up to a year or a fine of 5,000 ringgit, or both if convicted. In Terengganu, after 2 weeks of police monitoring the modus operandi of two suspects, a 45-year-old man and his 14-year-old brother-in-law were arrested in Kuala Terengganu. Police also seized 31 bottles of heroin believed to have been brought in from a neighboring country to be distributed around Wakaf Tapai, Marang. According to Terengganu Police, the two suspects' activities came to light after the car they were travelling in, parked at the roadside near Kampong Padang Midin, was raided. Inside the vehicle, police discovered two plastic packages containing 17 bottles of heroin. After both suspects were nabbed at 1 a.m., police found 13 bottles of drugs in their home in Kampong Balai Maras, Kuala Terengganu. There, 13 bottles of heroin packed with Chinese newspapers and hidden in bags were found. The estimated value of the seized drugs is 13,000 ringgit. Police said the 45-year-old suspect has 5 criminal records on drug cases and is now in remand for 6 days until May 10th with his brother-in-law. The case is being investigated under the Dangerous Drugs Act. Former Goldman Sachs banker has been extradited to the United States to face criminal charges linked to One Malaysia Development Berhad or 1MDB. Malaysian Roger Ng had been detained on November 1st, shortly after the U.S. Department of Justice DOJ announced charges against him for allegedly laundering funds diverted from 1MDB. Attorney General Tommy Thomas in a statement said the surrender warrant from Malaysia allows Ng to remain in U.S. custody for up to 10 months, which can be extended by mutual agreement. After U.S. proceedings are concluded, Ng will return to Malaysia to face separate 1MDB-related charges brought by the Southeast Asian nation. Both Malaysia and U.S. agreed to extradite Ng last week, and the former banker left for the U.S. on Friday and is currently under the watch of the DOJ. Ng was charged in Kuala Lumpur with 4 counts of abetting the bank to provide misleading statements in the offering prospectus for 1MD bond sales. The Election Commission, EC, in a statement today said that the early voting process for the Sanakan parliamentary by-election will take place tomorrow, involving 270 police officers. They will be voting at the Marine Police Force Senior Officers Mess from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., while voting in the Sandakan Police District Headquarters Clubhouse is from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. EC Chairman Azhar Azizan Harun said voting will be monitored by agents from each candidate, as well as election observers from organizations and non-governmental organizations appointed by the EC. There are 40,131 voters under the Sandakan parliamentary seat, including early voters and absent voters. Azhar said all the ballot boxes for the early votes will be kept at the police lockup, and counting will be done on polling day on May 11th. History was created this morning when Datuk Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat took her oath of office as the first female Chief Justice in the country. At the ceremony, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah, presented the instrument of appointment to Datuk Tengku Maimun. Being one of the most junior federal court judges to become the Chief Justice, she is among the few judicial officers in the country, if not the only, to be plucked from the apex court for the topmost judicial post in Malaysia. Justice Tengku Maimun is the second Chief Justice in 10 years from Kelantan after Tun Arifin Zakaria. She will turn 60 in July and is married with 4 children. She takes over from Tan Sri Richard Malanjun, who retired on April 12th, with her appointment effective May 2nd. Now coming up, millions around the world mark the start of the holy month. Details next. Celcom Axiata Berhad and Digi.com Berhad are set to emerge as the country's largest mobile operator, following a mega merger announcement between Axiata Group Berhad and Telenor ASA. In a filing to Bursa Malaysia today, Axiata said both parties are in discussions and work towards finalizing an agreement to combine their Asian operations under a new merged global entity, MergedCo, within the third quarter of 2019. It said Telenor will be the majority shareholder of the global merged co, with anticipated 56.5% ownership, while 43.5% for Axiata. The merged co on the merger will have pro forma revenue of more than 50 billion ringgit and EBITDA of more than 20 billion ringgit. Under the proposed exercise, both parties have set the intention to list the merged co on Bursa Malaysia and another major international exchange within the next few years. The merged co will control operating subsidiaries in 9 countries with a combined population of more than 1 billion and 300 million consumers. When we return, violence in Gaza put on hold. Don't touch that dial. Sri Lanka has imposed a curfew in the city of Negombo, the site of one of the Easter Sunday bombings, to contain religious violence after clashes erupted between Christians and Muslims. Hundreds of security forces entered Negombo to impose a curfew after dozens of Muslim-owned shops, homes and vehicles were attacked. Now, over 3 people were injured in the clashes. Tensions gripped Negombo on Sunday as fighting erupted between ethnic Sinhalese people and Muslims on Sunday night. Unverified videos circulating on social media showed mobs throwing stones at Muslim businesses, destroyed furniture inside homes, shattered windows and overturned vehicles. An official said an alcohol-fueled dispute between the 2 groups degenerated into the clashes. Later, after the fight subsided, the government ordered a ban on liquor sales as a temporary safety measure. 2 arrests were made after the latest clashes, and more suspects had been identified through CCTV footage. The Sri Lankan government has also reimposed a ban on social media platforms in effort to stop the spread of rumors after the violence. The violence came hours after 200 scholars were found to have overstayed visas, for which fines were imposed and they were then expelled. State schools have resumed classes on Monday amid tight security after an extended Easter vacation following the attacks on April 21st that killed 257 people. Palestinian leaders in Gaza agreed to a ceasefire with Israel on Monday to end a deadly two-day escalation in violence in a truce brokered by Egypt. However, there was no confirmation from Israel on the deal, and it comes a day after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared to continue attacks on terror elements. An Israeli military spokeswoman declined to comment on the deal, but there appeared to have been no rocket fire or Israeli strikes in the hours after it was due to take effect. Israel also lifted restrictions on civilian movements in communities around the Gaza border on Monday morning. The escalation began Saturday with massive rocket fire from Gaza, drawing waves of Israeli retaliatory strikes, and continued throughout Sunday, when at least 23 Palestinians, including at least 9 militants and 4 Israeli civilians, were killed. Stock markets in China and Europe have been hit after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened new tariffs on China, putting a trade deal in doubt. Trump said on Twitter the U.S. would more than double tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese goods on Friday and would introduce fresh tariffs. He wrote that tariffs of 10% on certain goods would rise to 25% on the day, and that the billion-dollar sum of untaxed goods could face 25% duties shortly. The U.S. president had delayed further tariff increases earlier in the year, citing progress in talks. The move increases pressure on China as Vice Premier Liu He prepares to travel Washington this week to resume negotiations. According to reports in recent days, U.S. officials have become frustrated by China seeking to roll back an earlier commitments made over a deal. It is understood that the key sticking points include how the two police any deal and whether existing tariffs will be removed or stay in place. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong and the Raja Permaisuri Agong conveyed Ramadan greetings and a blessed fasting month to all Muslims in Malaysia. Their message was conveyed in a statement from Istana Negara issued by the Comptroller of the Royal Household, Dato' Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin. Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah and Tunku Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria also decreed that Muslims take the opportunity in this fasting month to worship more and increase good deeds, as well as foster closer ties with each other. Their Majesties express hope that the month of Ramadan this year will teach people to feel closer to Allah and build relations among each other, while at the same time nourish the spirit of servitude towards Allah. It's the first day of Ramadan, and countries around the world welcome the holy month in great spirits. There are about 7.6 billion people in the world, and during Ramadan, around 24% of them, about 1.8 billion, are Muslims. Muslims in Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia and Malaysia and much of the Middle East will fast on Monday for the start of the month of Ramadan. Millions more, however, in India, Pakistan and Iran will likely be marking the start of the lunar month on Tuesday, based on moon sightings there. Millions of Indonesians have kick-started their preparations to welcome the holy month. This includes cleaning up and praying at the relatives' graves to eating meat together. People flood Kabul city in Afghanistan in advance for the preparation of the fasting month. Various goods can be seen at the market stalls, such as rosaries, food and traditional treats on the eve of the holy month. The King Salman Center for Relief and Humanitarian Aid has started distributing relief goods worth 80 million Afghanis to 20,000 deserving families. Meanwhile, Pakistani Muslims wait patiently to welcome Ramadan on May 7th, as the moon was not sighted on Monday. But this doesn't stop them from making necessary arrangements before the fasting season kicks off. Libyan shoppers throng Tripoli's Souk El Hout market in preparation, despite somber moods at the capital was again hit by violence in recent days, and prices have shot up ahead of the holy month. Tarawih prayers done by the Kurdish in Iraq to seek the blessings of Prophet Muhammad in order to have a peaceful and blessed Ramadan. Leaders from Iraq and the Kurdistan region expressed their hope for a blessed and peaceful holy month in the conflicted country. Iraq is among countries that experiences price hikes during Ramadan, especially for the much sought-after dates following the country's ban on cheaper foreign imports. Over 120,000 registered runners and wheelchair participants at more than 323 locations across 72 countries covered 1.1 million kilometers globally on Sunday during the 6th annual Wings for Life World Run, a charity event to raise funds for spinal cord injury research. Visuals of the marathon wrap up tonight's bulletin. With that, I'm Otto Othman. Thanks for watching, and to our Muslim viewers, don't forget Sahur. Good night.